Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as for the today topics, we are going to talk what is static keyword and w- in which places and how we can use. What is the meaning? And next part we'll also talk about the final keyword. What is the final keyword and what are the use cases? In which places while writing the code we can use the final keyword. So let us discuss the static. Let us first some write the code. Let us we have a class and let's class maybe employee. Let's class general class A. Okay, simply class test. I'm testing something. And in this class, generally we can write some variable. Let's we have write int a variable, or we can write some method like void method. Okay. So in generally, a class contains some set of variable, some set of method. Okay. So and how we can use this variable are here you can say out you can access this variable. Okay, method and access this variable. And generally we are enforcing this should be private so that anyone cannot access outside of my class. If someone want to access, just invoke my method and this my method maybe let us this my method return the value of a. Okay, where is a? Okay. uh, so the question is that how can access this method or this variable. So generally, this class can be written in any other package on another folder. The general way you can go in the main method because main is the starting point of my application. So we can create object of new class and I can now after that this object we can access my method. There is a no and if you run you can access method one. So first things for accessing any method, we need a create the object. Is it clear? If this method I want, if not, if I just not created this method object, so is it possible we can invoke this method or anyway we can invoke from this way somehow? No, because let's you can assign like a null by default still we cannot able to invoke this method because object is a null, object is not created new, so you cannot invoke this method. If you run we are getting the null point exception. So we have options. If I want this method can be invoked without the creation of test object, then we can say this method, let us write another method. We can have an option, we can write a static method as well as you can write static method as well as. So here you can say this is the static method. So if you are try to access any non-static method, so you need must the object. Okay, what is this saying? They have a two here. Okay, this is a variable. As usual, this is the static method, so they can access only static variable. So Here you can say private. Let's I create some static variable b. So here I can only access b, not a, because a is not this. So one rule, any static method can only access the static variable. They cannot access your non-static variable. These are some rule. So now if I'm just try to invoke the another method from the same object using the method one, compiler allow you to invoke static method from your test class itself. So if you run it, it will not throw any exception. Even we cannot create any object. Still, compiler allow to invoke the static method. So generally, what happen whenever a compiler find any method you are invoking from the class name from any static method, so compiler instead of this code they just convert to like this way. Here they just write a test your class name. They know कि this is the static method, so static method are invoked from his class name. So here compiler replace this code with this code test dot static. So from your class name you can access your static method directly. The preference way, don't invoke any static method from the object because there is no any meaning. Test methods are invoked from his class name. You can write compiler not any problem. Compiler is happy. You can invoke in the both way, but this is just confusing. Not prefer way to call static method, right? So first thing, because if you notice this object is null, the someone say from null you can invoke the method one. No, because method one is the static compiler. No, method one is static. So while code compiling, they replace this test with the actual object name. This is their types. So in the both cases, your code will work fine. So one thing be clear, all the static method, all the static methods can access or invoke from his class name. But there is one condition. Let's say you write static method and change the you write another static method and change here to private. Private. Then can we invoke this method too? Let us try. Because this is a static method. You notice compiler is not happy. Reason, any private data member cannot access outside of the class. This method is only accessible inside this class, where we can call from here. Here you can call method 2. I have not any problem because method 2 is a private, but private can access inside your test class. So any private methods, maybe static method or non-static method, cannot invoke outside of the class. So here private methods are not allowed to access. Private methods are not allowed to call. Till now, any doubt?
No, sir. But
Very
like, sir, I have one question. Like, the private here we written private,
good.
so we can say we can't change the data included in this method, or we can't make any change in this.
Till now, I'm not talking any change. here you can change value or not value. This is the next we are going to talk. Here I'm just trying to say this test class can declare some variable non-static, some variable static. You can declare some method, some static method, some non-static method. So from test class, which variable you are able to access? This is a static variable, but private you cannot access this variable b, right? You try to test dot b is a private variable you cannot access. But you can declare some variable like a static c, and here you just mention the public. So this c variable you can access here.
Okay.
Test dot
And sir,
c.
where
Uh,
in line 9 we wrote obj dot method 1, that is wrong, I think.
Again, repeat your question.
In line 9 where we wrote obj dot method 1, is this correct or this is wrong?
This is correct. Compiler happy. But as a developer confused, if object is null, why you can invoke any method? So generally guidelines, please avoid using any method call that is static from his object. Static method always prefer to call from his class name.
Okay, sir, but we didn't initialize it like new test object is equal to new test.
Yes. Still compiler, what whenever code compiler write this line equal to like this line. Just change it. Compiler at runtime change this object to your test name.
Okay.
If you written this code, but actually running like this line, like 11, 10 line number. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the one key feature of your static method. Static method can invoke from your object or from test itself, class name itself. But preferable way always use invoke any static method from your class name.
And answer this, if we are calling directly like test.c, this is same as we can write get c. Like
Uh,
the value
here,
of c will get stored in as.
yes, here why I'm able to say you can access any variable because this is a static variable. So I can access from class name.
So this
Right?
will give the value of c.
Yes, this will give the value of C. Let's see here I assign C equal to 90, and if you print it, this will print the value of S equal to 90. Okay. So here two things we learn. First thing, static. Static means you can access from the class name, general preference way. But second, if static is a private, you cannot access. This is the static variable b. You cannot access because this is a private. So first thumb rule: any private data member cannot access outside of the class. Private data member only accessible inside the class. Is it clear? So only public data member that are the static can be accessed outside of the class, preferable way using your test class name itself. Here you can write obj2. There is no any problem. Compiler can happy. Compiler can return the value, but this should be avoided. Don't use the obj. Obj is null. You are trying to say from null give to the C, not make sense. But whenever code is run, compiler just instead of this, compiler know you are accessing the static data member. The static data member can be accessed from the test class. So compiler just write this way. So this is the one part about static. Okay. Next thing, uh, let's let's think. Till now in doubt.
No, sir.
Okay. So next, one thing here. Remember, so this non-static variable, also known as a instance variable. Okay, what is known as a instance variable, and this is the your static variable. There is no any doubt. So one class can hold instance variable or non-instance variable. You can say a non. Similarly, any method which are non-static, you can say instance method. This is your any static method. You can say this is the class method, class level method, because this method can be invoked from its class name. This is the instance method. You can say this method is only invoked from the instance or object. So sometimes someone asks, what is the instance method? Instance methods are okay, and this is the instance variable, right? Sometime static variable also known as a class variable, as this variable can be accessed from the class name. Similarly, static method known as a class method, because this method can be invoked from class name. So this terminology also use what is the instance variable. That is means in a class you can declare any variable that is non-static. You can say instance variable. This can sorry, this can only accessible from the instance. Instance sometime known as a instance equal to sometime you can say object. Object or instance the same things. Object here obj is not a object. Obj is a reference variable of a type test. If you write if you write obj 1 equal to new test, at that time you can say this obj is a reference variable pointing to test object. This will create test object. This line will create test object in the memory, heap memory. They are creating one object. Actual, this is the object, but this object is referred by one variable known as a obj1. So obj1 is referring one object. So sometimes say कि this obj is a reference variable that refer in an object of a type test. So this object is a reference variable are referring to an object that is the types of test. So always say whenever you are creating a new test, this is the new object created in your heap memory. And what variables are going to refer this? This is known as a reference variable. Of what type? The obj is a reference variable of type test. So they always hold the object of your test class. Is it clear? So what is the instance variable or what is the class variable? Similarly, what is the from this i- reference variable you can invoke your method. There is no any object. Now your instance method you can invoke. It's happy. There is no any problem. Now we have a created our object created. It works fine. But sometimes some developer also trying to invoke object one dot your static method as well as like method one. But please avoid. Always prefer to invoke static method from your class name, right? So should avoid.
And so if we want to use that method for particular object, then how to use?
Repeat question.
Like, sir, if we want to use this method for any particular object, then how to use for that particular object?
I'm not getting question again. Which method you want to for particular object?
Like the method one, we want to use it for the object.
So because method one is the class method. This is not bound to object.
Okay.
First thumb rule. All static variable are static method is not bound to any object. Let us hear example. Uh, mm, some let's I just create one. Uh, let us one. I think just explain it why they are not bound to. Uh, let us I set. I provide them set value. Set value. Set a value. Okay. Here I am just setting. Let's key I. You can create one object here, and here is a object one dot set a value. A value I want to set 20. And you can also, this is the one object. Let's initialize inside the constructor. This is the best way. Instead of here, just I want to not initialize here. Yeah. I can say we can write one constructor test constructor. I want to test with a variable. So whenever I'm saying you can, whenever you want to create the test object, you pass me the a value. Let's I pass here at 10. Okay. So and you can also create the object 2, and here you can pass 30. Okay. So now you notice we have created one object and two object. So whenever your object will create, whenever this line will execute, inside your heap memory, inside your heap memory, one object created, one object created. So what is the size of object? So generally this object only hold this instance variable. They are not storing this, they are not storing any class variable. So only they have only one place for a. Okay. So whenever you create constructor a, this 20 you can assign inside a code base. So here 20 assign. Whenever you say ki object one dot give me method, so they will return to 20. But you can create another object. You can create another object. For object only the space they are allocated, which are the instance variable only, which are the non-static. So here only a variables, only one place are allocated for a variable type integer. Here you are storing a 30. So here they are storing only 30. So now you can say object here object 2. Here is object 2 dot get method. So get method return here 30. Yeah, because you are bounding to object 2. So object have only hold these instance variable. They are not holding any static variable. Okay, if you let's run it. Run it. Let us here also try to say yes. Let's run it. So you notice that here sometime 20, some same method. Method 1, if you are invoking from object 1, you are giving the 20. If you are invoking from method 2, they are getting the same method you are invoke, but different object. They are invoking from object 1, then return is its own object value. Whenever the same function invoke from the different object, they are returning his own values. So this methods is not is only depend upon the which object you are invoking. So please note, with object only instance variable are bound. Any static variables are not bound with the any object. They always have a only one copy, you can say. In test class, in test class, whenever test class run, for each new object, for each new one object in memory created and one a place are placed here. Similarly, another new object you can create it here, new places here. The two memory references for your instance variable. But what happened for this B and this C? They have a one common memory place, okay, known as a meta space, or okay, and here they are storing your B, your B variable value, and here they are storing C variable. They are bound to your test class. So any number of object you can create, different object created in memory, and only instance variable for A only space are allocated, and B and C are static. That is the only one copy. There is a no duplicate copy created because this is the class level variable. A class is the only test one class, so there is only one copy for all the static variables. Is it something clear?
Yes, sir.
So please be note that you written this static inside the test class, but these are the class variable. They have only one test class you have written, so only one copy in the memory are placed. And non-static variable. These are the bound to your instance or object. So for each object, let's see have declare two instance variable A and B. A and B. So always whenever you create one new object, so first you have already B variable. Let's see here A2. Okay. So whenever you create any object, whenever you create one object, now for test class, whenever you create new object, they have a two instance variable. So they are allocated memory for your two A and B, A and A2, for A and A2. फिर create a new object, तो again memory allocated for again two instance variable. The two blocks for memory are allocated for A and A2, and whatever the value someone method set, for A here set, A2 here set. Similarly, A here set, A2 here set. But still, for this two variable, separate copy of single copy is allocated where B and C are stored. Sometime, so any object here, you here two object created, object one here and object two here. From object, you can access your instance variable, or even you can access your this static variable. So this is shared, you can say, by this object and this object. Both objects are accessing the same copy. So let us here say in the constructor, let's key always we can create B plus plus. Okay, so let's give whenever our object created this B value, I am going to increment. Okay, and let's I am giving one method get let's this return your B value, right? Method one. So let us print it. Now I am creating a two object. Here I say, and let's here I invoke. Here I can let's invoke here. Here say method one dot. Let's I want to method in one. Here we were trying to say this is the let's say two object. Let someone try compiler allow. You can invoke the static method from this and this. You know this method return the B variable. So whenever you can create your object, always I am creating B equal to B plus 1. Okay? I am just increment this value and let's run it. Then you notice whenever just I here I'm just I for timing just I comment out here all the things. Okay, yes, I just created one object and just run it. So whenever I create method one with a b, it will return by b. Whenever I invoke the static method and they return one. Okay, and sometime you invoke a new object. So new object created, and here you returning b is your static variable. So they return me one because here in the constructor we created incremented one. And after that you can in object 2, the new object created inside constructor you are again increment your b. So after 2 you returning this will give his value, but b will return again new counter. What happen, you can again object 1 also try to access again method 1, check the what is the b value. So you notice this object 1 also getting the 2 value. Why? Because this static variables are there. Let's how happen. Whenever your code run, whenever your code run, okay, here your object one you going to create. Okay, this is going to create new object. Say are going to heap memory, create one object for you. This object have a two instance variable a and b. So they created memory location a and a1, a2, right? Two instance variable. Here they you are setting the a equal to 20, so here 20 are set. But here say object one dot method, this method return your a value contain 20, this 20 printing on here. This is a no any problem. Okay. Now again you say get me method, static method you are calling. So whenever this class is loaded at that time one copy of static data member is also initialized. Here the b and where the c. So here in the while constructor you say b equal to b plus 1, initially 0 then become a 1. So whenever you say b dot method 1, this return your static method 1. Again you create object 2 next time. Here you can create object 2. So in the constructor first they are created the two memory a and a2. Here you say a equal to 30, and in the same constructor you can increment this value b equal to b plus 1, you change b equal to 2. So if this method object 2 invoke the method they return his value 30, his value return 30. But you can say object give me the static method value b. So it's a b equal to 2, so they print a 2. Okay, and again you say no I want to invoke from object 1 static method. So object 1 static method also refer the same thing, so they return a 2. So in short, static data members are the class member, and any object of that class can access this space. Always get the same copy. Huge any number of objects you can create. Anytime you want to access the static data member, always all the variables, all the instances are getting the same thing. So general preference, don't access any static data member from your object. Just confusion, always try to access from your class name, because this is the only one copy can access from the class name. Any doubt?
No, sir. Now I got little bit like the instance variable. We use them to construct any
Yes.
object. They are used for any object. Like for object one, they would be different, and object we can assign them different. Object C we can assign them different. Like that's our choice.
Yes, any value you can set.
Yes, and but the static method, if we write in the constructor, every time we call the like if we pass a command to increase by 2, so every time we construct new object, it would increase by 2. Every time it would increase by 2.
Uh, No, I am written here logic like whenever one object created, just increment the one value. I
Yes.
want to increment by 2, 3, whatever the logic.
Yes.
Maybe this you have a some setter getter, so where any value you can change here.
Okay.
Okay.
Like their value is retained throughout the class.
Yes, this static value is retained throughout the application. You can say until your application is not closed.
Okay.
Because in static only one copy created. Okay. Whenever any application running, any thread running, anyone can change here if this is the public variable, right? If
Yes.
anyone can access, the latest copy is only reflected to all the member. Because static is not bound to object. So when you decide which variable you are going to mark static, only those variable you are going to mark static that can be shareable by your all the object, right?
Yes, sir. Like for example, if we talk any in the university, for example, student number. So every time new admission, so increase student number by one.
Hmm, right. But each student have a own roll number, na, a class number.
Yes.
But that student number, yeah, roll number is not static. If you say student one get my ID, this is own ID written, na. Student 2 his own ID written. You cannot say the same ID for all, right?
Yes. Not
State,
like the every time we create new student, then the student number the or the roll number will increase by one.
yes, but each number is associated for only one student, right?
Yes.
But in the case of let's count total number of student in a class, that would be the static. Okay, one class have only one total number of student, maybe 20, maybe 30, maybe 40, right?
Okay.
If I ask uh, student one, tell me your total number of student in your class, so they always say ki 10. This is also say 10, this is also say 10, because at present in your class we have a total 10 student only.
So we can make a static counter
Yes,
like.
yes, count should be static, so that this count variable is makes sense for all the student. If someone asks from any student, give me your total count of your class, the total class count should be same for all the student. But give me your roll number, each have a own roll number, right? Each have a own name. The name cannot be static, roll number cannot be statics, marks cannot be statics. What is your college name? College name can be static. This is one college for all the student. So think anything that can be shared for all the object of those class can mark static, and assume the static have only one copy for all these reference, right?
Okay, sir.
Any doubt with the static now?
No.
You can create static variable only in those cases where you want only one copy for this variable and all the objects are access the same value, then you can mark static. Generally all the constant we can declare as a static variable, because constant with the only one value I want to anyone can access. So let us here, if your object 1 access C always get a 90, object 2 access always get a 90. So in generally all the constant which are the same value for all the objects are marked as a static. Like you can say t- temperature, current date. Today date is the same employee for all, right? I'm asking what is the date today? The same you can say today is your 8th February. So current date can be static. What is your counter can be static. Constant should be static. The such variable you can mark static. That means this value is same for all the object. Only those variable you mark as a static. Else, if you think particular value for independent, different for each object, then those value must be instance variable. So there are sometimes a instance variable or object variable as well as, but static, similarly static variable you can say static variable or class variable, because they are always bound with your class. This is the instance variable because this is always bound with instance, your actual object. Till now, any doubt, or it is clear about the static?
Yes, sir, it is clear.
Kusprit, you have any doubt with the static?
No, sir, not yet.
Good, good. So in any class, you can write a static variable, static method, and maybe public, maybe private. Each permutation combination you can try. No, now the next uh, question was what the meaning of final, right? What the meaning of final variable, right? So any final keyword you can use the three places. This is the final keyword can be used the three places. You can use first with any variable. Let's say integer x equal to 100. So this is the final. So what do you mean final? Final means this value you cannot modify it. Let's see here you can print here. So let us just comment out all the things. And if you print x, x will be 100. There is no problem. But sometime I can change x equal to x plus 1 or needed sometime. So these are not allowed with the final variable. Final variable only once in a slice. Once in a slice, you cannot change this value. Any variable you can mark final. Means you are trying to say कि whenever they are allocated, x is a variable, whenever you are assigning 100, after that you can only read this variable x, but you cannot going to the change value whatever they is holding. So these are the one use case whenever you want the particular variable value once initialized, after that it cannot be changed. Not no one can change, then you mark those variable as a final. So final variable can be inside your main method, or final variable can be inside your any class. Here this is the class. Here I can mark this is the final variable. Final variable. So what do you think? If a2 is the final variable, if a2 is a final variable, what is the value? So whenever you are inside any class declaring any variable final, you must initialize. What is the initial value? Right? What is the initial value of a2? If you are not writing final, by default compiler allow here a 0. Right? But you especially say if this is the final variable, then you have to say what would be the initial value for it. The two option here. You can here tell 99 is the initial value. Okay. The one option. Here you can say this is the 99 value. Our second option, no, I don't want to hard coded value here. when our this object created with the new, at that time I want to say ki what is the initial value for each object, for each object 1, object 2, object 3. This is the instance variable. So each have a different a2, different a2, different a2. So for I want one fixed value for this, one fixed value for this, one fixed value for this. So if you assign here 99, means that all objects have only 99 value. So we have another option. If any variable, this is the final, or you can say constant. Okay, sometime in other language known as a constant. Okay, like a C, constant var. You can declare constant variable, or let's you declare constant variable 1. Here, first notice in the any method, if you declare any variable like here integer a, okay, oh a here, compiler is happy. But you declare the final b, compiler whenever you are going to use, say ask what is the initial value. So similarly here as well, as whenever you declare any final variable, they ask me give me initial value. But here I don't want to give initial value. When this object will create, at that time I want to give initial value. So whenever any object creates, the constructor invoke. The constructor is the place where you can initialize this value. And here you can say key what is the initial value. Maybe I say initial value is the whatever the value we are receiving multiply by 100. Multiply by 100. So this is your initial value. After this, variable 1 cannot be modified. So when you are declaring any variable as a final, you have a two option. You can give initial value at the declaration time or at the constructor time. And once this value is initialized, after that no one can have any option to change the value. Only can read. Only can read. So sometime final variable you can say it is a constant variable.
Sir, but here A is not final. So
Hmm.
constant variable 1 would be the multiple of A.
Hmm.
So A can be 1, 2, anything.
Yes. But constant for your object. Whenever you're creating one object, okay, they have a
Yes.
3 instance variable, right? So 3 copies, 3 memory space are placed. One A, let's here pass A is equal to 10, right? In the constructor you pass A equal to 10, right? So here A value should be 10. What is the constant variable? This would be the 99. What would be the this? This is initialized here. Here say whatever the A multiply by 100. This means here 10, 100. And after that, you can change this value. You can change any method. You can change A is equal to A plus 1. But we cannot change any this value or any this value. Let us here. Let's inside the method here, method 1. Here you can say A equal to A plus 1. Okay? But here you cannot change any constant variable. Here let's you try to change it. Here you say equal to A plus this is not allowed. Even you are trying to change this variable, final variable here, this is not allowed to change because this is the final. Once initialized, you cannot change it. You can change this value, but you cannot change other variable. If you print here, let's here change plus what is the value of this and what is the value of this. Okay, and let's run it. Okay, sometime I change. I invoke this function 2 times. Okay, let us look. So let us just comment out and I created test object new and new test, and I pass as a 5. Okay, and just I want to invoke the obj method this. Okay, when you run, you notice this is the constant variable 9, this is the 500. Okay, and let's invoke this method again. Okay, and if you notice, we have changed the a value is the 6, but these two are constant, still 500. Many times you can invoke this method, you can change the instance variable, but you cannot change the final variable or anyhow. They always hold this 500. You can just read it many times. So what happen whenever this object is created? This object is created at the creation time. You know that this test class have a three instance variable, three memory places are placed here. One for a, one for a constant variable, one constant variable. Okay. So initially a you assigned 5. This is the 5, not any problem. Here you can say second variable we hard coded 99, 99. And second constant variable you can declare like 5, whatever the a value multiply by 100, so this is the 500. So once this 500 in slice, this always 500, never going to. If you create another object, this is our own 99, own constant variable. This object cannot change his value. This object have a own two constant variable, right? So we are, whenever you are creating any instance variable as a final, that means for a specific object, this is the final. Here you can create two object of this. You are creating the final for object 2. Let's here it pass as a 7. Here you are creating two final variable, but one final variable is for your object 1. This is object 1, and this is object 2. You have created two object. This is one object, the two object own, each object have a own final variable, own instance variable. The instance variable you can change any times, but final variable never change. Sometime you want to create constant for all the object. Constant should be for this, should be this. So this should be your static. So any static variable you can declare as a final. So second option, sometime we want to declare one variable final for all this class object. Whatever the this counts, just mark as a final. So this variable C is a final for all the object. Anyone cannot change this 99. So you have a both option. You can declare instance variable as a final. That means this value is fixed for only those object. But sometime I want fix some constant for the all the object. Then you can mark static as well as the final. So that this is the only one copy, and this copy is accessed by your this copy. C is the one constant variable that can be accessed by any number of object, but no one can have option to change it. Just read it. Is it clear about the final variable? Each object have a own final variable. Each object can have a own final variable. Each object have a own final variable. But can be option if for all object there is a one variable that is final, that is the static. Till now, any confusion for the static variable?
No, sir.
That is good. So this is the one use case of your static variable, where in whenever you are declaring any variable, you have an option. you can give initial value at the same time, or you can give initial value at the in the place of constructor. There is this is the only two places where you can give the initial value for your final variable. And final, sometime as Pushpit mentioned, you can declare like a method as a final. Then what happened? Right? If I am writing any final method, what is the meaning? There is a if there is only one class, there is a no any impact. There is a no any impact. But we know whenever you are going to overriding this means you are defining same method in the subclass. So this final keyword is a control where I don't want this method should be overridden. Let us you write subclass here, subclass, and extend your test class. Okay, and here we have an option. We have option. We can define this same method, same signature inside your subclass. This is not final. Then you have an option. You can override this method, right? Here you can. This is allow you can override this method. Out means you can define the same signature inside a subclass. Okay, this will allow. Okay, but whenever you say I don't want to allow overriding, so you have to mark this as a final. So whenever you mark final, this method here compiler say you cannot override. You cannot define same signature method inside a subclass because this method is the final declared by superclass. So sometime you want this method cannot be overridden. Any subclass cannot define the same signature method, then you have an option to control and you can mark as a final. So is it clear? Whenever you are putting final keyword against the method in the front of method, that means you want any subclass cannot define the same method because I want to restriction, right? So you can use final keyword. So here you are not option to override the method. You cannot override means as discussed, you are defining same signature method inside a subclass. You have option, but this option can be prevented when you are writing final. Even this is the public, you write here public. Sometimes say a private method cannot be overridden. Public method can be final. So here this is the public method, but you cannot inherit because this final keyword just apply restriction. They say now this method cannot be overridden. So is it clear? When you are putting final keyword against any method, then what the meaning? The meaning is that you cannot override this method in a subclass. So is it clear? What do you mean by the final method?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Next option, you can write final in the front of class as well as. And what the meaning? The meaning is that now this class cannot have allowed to inheritance. Now, if you are trying to hear, your compiler is not allowed to inherit because this class is a final class. Means I want this class, test class want no one subclass, no any class inherit me. No inheritance I allow. You mark, so you not do any inheritance in the test class, because your test class is the final. So is it clear कि when you writing final keyword against any class, that means this class is not support inheritance.
Yes,
If
sir.
if you notice, this is the string class Java given you. This string class is the final class. So you cannot make inheritance with a string class because this is the final. If you try to write the inheritance here, because you cannot inherit the string class.
Sir, but we override the toString method.
Override, but we cannot inherit. I'm saying we cannot inherit because the class is a final.
Okay.
So final, simple meaning ki final keyword can be placed in the front of class. That means ki now no one can make inheritance with this test class. There is no subclass of this class. So these are some restriction added by your final keyword. One, whenever you are declaring with variable, this variable must be initialized, and after initialization, the value cannot be changed. Anytimes, whenever declare any method as a final, that means this method cannot be overridden in subclass. If you mark class as a final, that means this class cannot support the inheritance.
So what is the benefit of this class then if we can't inherit any method or anything from this?
I'm designer. I want to say this class is sufficient. Don't anyone want to inherit this my feature. Just like a string class, Java compile, Java designers don't say ki anyone can inherit and create a new string class. No, this is the purposeful. Sometime you want I allow inheritance, sometime you don't want inheritance. So this is the mechanism. This is the tool. If you want to inheritance, just leave it. This is inheritance supported. If you want, no, I don't want anyone can inherit my this method. So you have a final options. Means you have a tool, you have a options what you want. As per your use case, sometime you are writing final class, sometime you don't want to write final class. So these are the tools and mechanisms provided by the Java system to you. As per
Yes,
your
sir,
use case, you can do.
like sir, the string class has method like get length
Hmm.
and any other method. So if
Yes,
there is any int or character a, then we cannot write character ch like
you can
ch
check.
dot get length.
You can check string class have a function like string class dot like length function. Okay, length check. Length is a private. Okay, what it? If you know length is a public function, you can only access it. You can override it, but for overriding you need a subclass. Uh, String class sake you cannot make any subclass here, so you cannot override indirectly, right? So these are the some tools you can use on the basis of your utility, right? This final class can extend, can implement some other classes, but after this class you cannot. So in the front of any class, if you retain final, that means this class cannot be subclass. But another class, let's say we have a class ABC. ABC, this class can extend ABC. There is no any problem. Means this class can support inheritance. This class can get the inheritance from any other class, but test class cannot inherit any other class. Can implement interface this. Let's we have interface interface I1. Okay, this class can implement interface I1. Okay, so your final class can is- be inherit from any other class, can implement any interface, but this test class, any class, any class cannot extend test class because test class is a final class. Final class not allowed to inheritance. So you cannot do this, right? So these are the some
Yes.
feature of key as per your requirement. Sometime you need a final, sometime you don't need a final. You want to some inheritance, you want to some overridden, then you need to open class. But you some time you don't want anyone can make a subclass of my class. So just make a final, no one can inheritance support. So let's try it. And these are the three uses of your final keyword, right? One at the variable level, one at the method level, one at the class level. So whenever you are declaring at the variable level any final, that means the value is the fixed once initialize. Only once initialization allow. After this initialization, this value cannot be changed. For if your method is any final, that means this method cannot be overridden by in subclass. But if you writing the test class as a final, that means ki no any other class going to extend the test class. So these are the something as a developer should know ki what kind of tools, what kind of mechanisms Java is provided. And if you know, you can use the same way. So hope now it will make some basic idea about what is the use of final, right? Where you can use. Okay?
Yes, sir. But
Any
sir,
till
like,
now, any doubt? Yes?
yes, there's like we put final and we can't change it further.
Right.
But if someone go in our class and remove that final word, or he can't go in our class.
But if someone access a code, that means the code owner, na? If someone remove that, surely that means this is not final variable.
Yes.
So generally, whenever uh, we are generally giving to anyone a compile class file to run my application, jar file, right? If
Yes.
you cannot change this final keyword in string class. You can just use it because you are getting this Java file in the library in the form of jars. Whenever you installing jar,
Okay.
you are getting. You have not any option to change this string class, right? String
Okay.
class you can just use it in the form of jar. This is for just reading purpose. Editor give you option you can read here, but you cannot do any changes here. Let's try. You try it, right? So these are the some mechanisms ki when you code developing, while developing, you are deciding after development happen, you are releasing your software in the form of package known as a jar file, might be know. So this jar can be deployed in any system and can be run. Right?
Yes.
Similarly, we are using this string class. Why? Because you have downloaded JDK, right? Java development environment, and then you install your machine, then you are able to access this string class. Similarly, if you are written in your test class, if someone want to access, you give me na permission. This is my jar file. Take it, put in your machine, and use it.
Yes.
So there are some mechanisms from where your build software are delivered to the customer, right?
Okay.
Okay, so let's try it. If you still have any doubt, we can discuss, right?
Yes, sir.
Hope now you are clear about the static keyword and about the
Yes.
final keyword.
And so the classes we make, those automatically go to the that Java library or not, or that is the wish of the Oracle company whatsoever, so they
Right.
can put.
Yeah. Yes, right. Automatic doesn't happen. Anything happen. You have to
Okay.
inform something. There are some process channel where you can say, right?
So the company will put that our class in that Java
Yes.
library.
Yes. Let's you retain some fantastic Java classes. Okay. And this
Yes.
logic is very unique. And you can, if Java community or Oracle know that this class is very useful, why not I deliver to our JDK part? So if you allow permission to Java, कि I am written this class is very handy, very useful, lots of utility method here. So Java community, if interested, your method is really good, so they can include your class inside your Java package itself, right?
Okay.
So each uh, last 6 months, Java always release a new version. So at that time, they are adding some classes, some removing some classes, some doing enhancement. So always the implementation happening in the Java side as well. Due to that, Java different release are currently Java 17 version going on, right? Similarly, after 6 months, Java 18 come, 6 months, Java 19 come. So means they are still doing some research and R&D work on what kind of improvement needed in Java, right?
Okay.
Okay, this is the secondary discussion we can do later. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's try it.
Thank
Still
you.
any doubt we can discuss. Okay.
Yes. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.
Yes, Pushpreet, you are saying something.
No, I was just saying thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.